Hello, this is officially episode 1 of breaking down winning meta ads. Now, my reason for doing this is honestly rather selfish, as this meme here would portray. You're telling me that all I need to do to make banger ads is to study winning ads. Now, obviously, this is only part of the equation, as you also need to write them, but honestly, a huge part of it is literally just this. So this is both for you, so that I can go ahead and share top ads that I've seen working in accounts that I'm currently in, as well as brands that I'm tracking and studying and seeing what their top ads are. But it's also for me to also continue to improve my own ad game and always to stay learning, to be honest. Now, quick disclaimer, there are obviously guys well ahead of me who've been in this game for much longer. So I am simply sharing what is working with me currently at the moment across the hundreds of thousands of monthly ad spend that I'm currently spending. Not as some big, huge 9-figure brand who already has a lot of awareness, but specifically for brands in the smaller range, 6, 7 figures, looking to push up to the 8-figure range. Now, in this video specifically, I'm going to be actually sharing one of my own ads. So I'm going to be going through the results, the unexpected reaction to the ad, the exact ad format, the script template, and the forgotten copywriting concept from 1904. I'm not sure how long this is going to be. It's going to be just a one-shot ramble. There won't be any editing. I just purely want to give you as much value as possible without wasting any time on some fancy video effects or anything like that, and to make sure that I actually record these videos consistently, which is obviously easier said than done. So, with that out of the way, let's go into the results. So the ad we'll be studying is this ad up the top here. So nothing like insane spend-wise. As you can see here, only 28,000 in spend, and this is just one campaign for one product for this brand here, which is now a multi-8-figure brand. Now, that's good. Nice cup of Earl Grey. What is, however, impressive about this ad? This ad has been in this #1 spot. This is their main product. And this has been their main ad for, I want to say, almost since May. It maybe started like number 2, number 3 around in May. And then from there, it's just continued to rise up and just been in that #1 spot. And we've also taken this concept and similar format and run it for their other products. And it's also become the number winning ad for those products as well. Now, that's obviously, there are people obviously spending a lot more and driving like multi 6 figures in days with certain ads, right? But this particular ad, the reason why I find it interesting is not only has it lasted this long, it's not like there's not much creative being pushed into this account. Like, because this is such a big brand, they have, I think, like 800 tribe creative influencer affiliate ads have also been made for this product and been able to beat this. And there was a competing agency who has honestly worked with name the bigger supplement brands, fastest growing ones, the ones that you've probably been studying in your swipes. They've worked with those sorts of brands and honestly charging a ridiculous amount more. And in the end, our ads beat them, and they didn't manage to obviously beat this one, and so they've been let go, and we're continuing to work with them. So this is why I find this interesting. And the other kind of reason is honestly the unexpected reaction, which I think is also partly why these work so well. And this will also spoil, bearing in mind, a little bit on the ad format. But people honestly just love these ads. Like, the engagement's always crazy. And the amount of people saying this is the best advertisement ever, etc., as cute as fuck, fabulous advertisement, like the gif of someone bopping, all this sort of stuff, is just, it's honestly a little bit ridiculous. And stuff that you don't see often. And that is because the actual ad format for this is the classic Suno AI song plus exclamation. Now, this is almost becoming a bit of a meme format, it feels like, within Twitter circles, because people are just spamming it so much. But I think kind of people, I even saw a tweet the other day, actually, some guy being like, I hate these like claymation ads. Like, they takes no copywriting skill or anything like that. It's like, dude, you're kind of missing the whole point. Like, it's just a format, ultimately, right? And the reason why it's so hot, people are speaking about it now, is because not that many people, even though it feels like it, are actually running this format. If you run this format, you already have a little edge, regardless of your copywriting. So your script may not be that incredible, but simply by using this format, it might be able to have some decent life. However, anyone who says, oh my God, it's going to die, blah, 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 you're completely missing that it's just another format. And it has an edge for some reason. And if you then combine that format with good copywriting, the results are just going to be insane and beyond what you'd be using, beyond what you could ever get with that same copywriting skill and a format which is less hot or less informed, right? It's kind of like if you put a good driver in a really, really great car. Yeah, you could be like, oh, dude, it's just a flashy car. It drives really, really fast. Like, it's just a Lamborghini. It's like, yeah, but like, what if you put, like, I'm just going to stick with like my old fucking Honda Civic, whatever. Like, bear in mind, I'm not a crazy car guy. Like, Volvo V40, I think is my go-to favorite car. But like, you might just be like, oh, I just want to stick with this like old thing. Like, you don't need, like, it takes no skill to drive. It's like, dude, well, what if you put a really great driver in this format? So this is kind of how I see this at the moment. And if you have not yet come across these, essentially all it is this Wallace and Gromit style animation, which you can do really, really well with AI. And most editors, if you can get a good editor, will understand how to do this. And then you combine essentially a music video with this sort of like Wallace and Gromit style animation video with essentially a song. And for this particular one, all I really did is take a script that I had previously written, which was also a winning ad, and then adjusted it slightly, played around with some different genres inside of Suno Song. It's really, really simple. You literally just paste in your lyrics. All I then went ahead and did is, once I had the lyrics, put it into Claude, and I said, I'm planning to turn this into a song. Can you give me like 5 completely different genres, which would also speak to my target demographic? Ideally, is like nostalgic, is something that they're interested in. And then I just went through each one and just played them in Suno and just found ones that I felt like really fit it really well, matched the beats. Sometimes you need to adjust the lyrics a little bit, but honestly, not so much. And so with that out the way, yeah, actually, before we go on, the reason why I think these work so well is because you can essentially target different demographics based on the song time, right? Because everyone has most people have pretty distinct music tastes, and we're also born in different time periods, so we're brought up around different music. And if you can create that nostalgia feeling, I think I saw Stefan Georgi recently posted a video that he made on this. But like, if you can make someone feel nostalgic, that in itself gives someone a little bit of dopamine. And if you combine that with music, which is also dopamine inducing on its own, you get something that's really powerful and feel good, which honestly just will make people forget that they're even watching an ad in the first place. And even if they are watching an ad, they'll be quite happy about it because they just bop into it. It's kind of like why catchy tunes in advertisements are such a big thing anyway. But I feel like that hadn't really got into kind of the hardcore or just general direct response meta side of things as much until now. So, also partly because to do a script like this would have taken obviously so much work to get a singer, to get a band, etc., or to try and produce it yourself with all of the tools. So very exciting because you can target different demographics with the genres, and 2, because they don't feel like ads, honestly. And 3, actually, not that many people are running them yet, because even though you can do it, most people are just not caught up, and there will probably be a lag of at least a few years before everyone is doing it. Maybe that's too long, but I mean, I think it's going to be a while still. Anywho, with that out the way, let us go on to the script template. So, I haven't actually given the exact script, obviously, as that would just mean that you can fucking rip it. But what I have given you is the exact format, so you can go ahead and fill these sections in based on your product and based on the research for your product as well. And so the key part, there are kind of 3 kind of key parts of this ad, and I think why it's dominating so much. But the biggest one obviously lies in the hook, as is the case with most ads. And it's because this here is a pattern interrupt. So here's what happens after 21 days of not taking action, right? Now, this essential action needs to be something that they are already doing today, right? That they also maybe don't really want to be doing and are kind of curious. Like, for an example, an extreme reaction would be like, here's what happens after 21 days of not eating food, right? Just pure curiosity, no necessary benefit. You are just kind of curious. But then if you can tie that into your actual product, right? Like, here's what happens after 21 days of, like, I don't know, I want to say not hitting the gym, or like not walking, for example. Not eating vegetables would be interesting. Here's what happens after 21 days of not eating vegetables. And then it could be like an experiment of like, I replace vegetables with like these grooms, gummies, basically. And then you go into the rest. So the other one is this action that you really have to hit on, which makes people think like, what the fuck? I'd be curious what happens. But 2, this is combined, because with this animation you can get really creative. This is combined with like a really weird style visual pattern interrupt that they wouldn't have really seen on the timeline before. In this case, it's like the product kind of morphing and like making these strange patterns as it goes into the next scene, essentially. So it kind of grabs your attention, like, what the fuck is this? And then also, obviously, this line here, you are like, okay, I mean, what is going to happen if I stop eating food? Or like stop drinking water? Or like, I'm trying to think, there's another one. Stop using deodorant would be an interesting one. Or stop using shampoo, for example. And then the key then is to switch into the actual product. So after your first time using product, right, which is then the opposite of this, they need to be able to understand that pretty quickly, right? So like, here's what happens after 20 years, I'm not eating vegetables, right? And then it says after your first times, I don't know, replacing vegetables, or like of taking these green gummies, you'll notice X first benefit. It starts with benefit 1, and then really, really simple, that's thanks to, and then just give a reason why. And in my case, I've tied this to like specific ingredients within the product, but it can be specific features if it's more of like a physical product that you don't necessarily take but use. Just basic as fuck, reason why advertising, which I'll go on to here in a sec. After then a week, you might notice another benefit, that's thanks to reason why. Now the reason why, pardon the pun, the reason why we are doing might notice is because of compliance reasons. But I genuinely also think that this is partly why it's also done well. Because I remember speaking to Ben Settle, arguably like one of the best email marketers alive at the moment, when I was doing a bit of work for him. And one thing that he mentioned is that what he found is when he tried to make his copies super, super compliant, that actually sometimes, for his audience anyway, that actually sometimes improved conversions because it becomes more believable, right? Because here, I'm not saying after a week, you will notice that, which arguably, from just pure copywriting standards, you'd say is better. Instead, I have to go with might because of compliance reasons, and I don't want to give these definitives. But I think then for some people who are already skeptical, have been hitting ads all the time, instead of being like, oh, these guys are just saying you're doing crazy claims, well, instead of like, hey, you might feel this, and then it's up to their imagination to then think for it. And also saying like, oh, these guys are maybe being honest, because they're not saying like you 100% will, they're just saying like this is a benefit that you might see, which is more realistic for anyone who's tried most products. This is not specifically a supplement, but for example, with supplements, right? Everyone's been given crazy claims. If someone's like, oh, look, it might work for you, like it might also, like realistically, it might not, but I think it will. Because of X, Y, Z reason, if these reasons are compelling, then I think that becomes quite powerful. And so what we're also doing by stacking this benefit 1, 2, 3, and 4 here, we're future pacing, right? We're giving them a clear time frame in the head, and we're allowing them to imagine the benefits, right? After 2 weeks, you might notice X, Y, Z. Now, the key thing here is I'm not just saying your focus will be better. I try to dimensionalize a little bit here. So, for example, let's say it's an energy supplement. After 3 weeks, you might notice you're not looking at the clock at 5 p.m. wondering where your energy's gone. That's a terrible example. Something to do with the crash, right? Or like after 2 weeks, you might wake up in the morning and suddenly you notice your joints aren't aching the way they used to, or you're able to get out, you're able to like jump out of the bed with like an agility that you never could before. That is, yeah, you get what I'm saying. And then the second key part, then the other place to dimensionalize this is in the reason why. Sorry, feeling a bit fried today. And some tea. That's thanks to specific reason, and then rehash it, which does X, Y, Z thing. So that's thanks to X, Y, Z mineral, which fuels your brain rather than like tricking it into thinking it as energy, etc. Or that's thanks to, let's just say like that's thanks to the fiber within grooms. Let's say let's say you allowed you to poop, so you get rid of constipation. That's thanks to the fiber within grooms, which through X, Y, Z mechanism then allows your bowels to be moving again, or to shift through, or to basically poop, right? And you can rehash in that benefit and even dimensionalize it. And also by dimensionalize, by the way, I mean taking that benefit and then starting to raise it up into more real life scenarios, basically, right? So an easy example is when you say, which means that. It's like a classic copywriting thing where you would go like, these curtains block out light, which mean that you can sleep better at night, which means that you wake up and you feel refreshed and more energetic, which means that you're going to be more productive with your work, which means that you're going to be able to make more money because you're closing more sales, you're getting all your tasks done, etc., which means that you're going to be able to create, you can go on forever, but it just means like raising it up a little another dimension, and in general, making it more visual. And then lastly, the longer you use it, the more you notice effects, so really tying it all together and highlighting the fact that it will compound. Because this, again, for this specific offer was something that they'll continue using, and it's not just a one-off thing. then this is all like very much logical proof, right? But I like to then tie off with a little bit of social proof. In this case, it was like reviews and number of people who tried it. And then lastly, just a really, really basic CTA, try it for yourself, links below, nothing special. Again, probably you could say, you could make the CTA stronger, etc. I mean, you can look at these things from any which way in action. This is honestly, if for you to just give me this script before, I would not have said that this is my favorite script. However, you just have to look at the numbers and what's worked best, and that is what I'm showing to you today and breaking down why it might have worked. Now, the then forgotten copywriting concept of 1904 is this bad boy, Reason Why Advertising, John E. Kennedy. So he first introduced this sort of concept in 1904, but then I think this actual book was posted out in 1914 or something. But it was kind of like one of the first copywriting books to sort of, to have any sort of influence really. And the whole point of it is, rather than just like pushing empty hypes or like slogans, which a lot of advertising was at the time, it's actually given like tying those benefits with actual logical proof, right? Actually, like, which essentially is like the origin of the mechanism, you could say, right? It's just like, if you're saying you're going to get X, Y benefit, just state why, reason why, specific products, benefits. And people will often find, like one of my other people that I've spoken to a bit, Kieran Drew from Twitter, he's often said that simply by looking through and seeing how many times you put because inside of your copyright, which is the same as reason why, the amount of times related to because increases conversion rates. As in the more times he wrote because. So instead of just saying like, hey, like, you need to buy this now. Okay, that's cool. Why not give it because? You need to buy this now because X, Y, Z reason. Just always giving a reason. If you're asking someone to sign up to your newsletter, instead of saying sign up to my newsletter, sign up to a newsletter because you will get sent X, Y, Z thing. Do it now because of X, Y, Z, etc. So really, really basic concept. But one of the foundational, like just fundamentals, which I think is easy to forget when you're writing copy. And again, I think this is like, apart from the pattern interrupt and this hook up here, the curiosity hook up here, is honestly, I think the reason why this works so well is because we're just constantly hashing in the logical reasons why you'll get these benefits. So by the end, you're like, yeah, fair enough. Makes sense to me. I'll give it a shot. Which then obviously all tied in with the format, which doesn't really necessarily make it feel like an ad and gets people saying these types of contents, these types of comments allow it to work really, really well. Now, that is all from me. I know this was a bit of a mess and a jumble, but my hope is that by episode 10, 20, 30, 40, or whatever of this, my ability to deliver these to you will have increased dramatically. And we'll be both pretty awesome and even better than we are today at writing ads from all the ones we've been analysing. So without that, have a cracking rest of your day, and thank you for sticking around if you happen to still be here.